Welcome to Money Talks. This is Dave Workman, and this podcast is brought to you by Workman Associates. Visit workmanassociates.com for information about investment services, insurance, and financial planning we offer. This month, February, we're discussing on ways, in regards to investments and insurance, you can show the ones you love how much you care for them. Not probably the way that you're thinking about it. Maybe you want to go out and buy some flowers, buy some chocolates. But I thought about 4 different areas that are extremely important, areas we've talked about before. But what I want to do is I want to give you some knowledge. I just finished reading a book by a gentleman by the name of Malcolm Gladwell. It's called Blink. Fantastic author, incredible book. And he said that what we have right now is a lot of information. We're swimming in information, but we don't have a lot of knowledge. And what I'd like to try to do today is not give you a ton of information, but give you knowledge that you can act upon. Now, the first area that I wanted to cover was life insurance. And certainly in this podcast, I'm not going to cover every nuance about life insurance, but I highly encourage you to either come in and review your life insurance and or go to the individual that sold you that insurance. Now, oftentimes what I've seen is that individuals will be sold a policy. They won't understand why they have it. They won't understand the amount that they have. And they haven't seen their agent since the last time they started the policy. Now, why is that? Because oftentimes in insurance, the first premium is the one of the biggest commission. And unfortunately, a lot of individuals, we call them abandoned policies or policies that no longer are serviced, because the fact that the servicing of the policy often doesn't generate commissions. Now, the first thing I want to discuss with you very quickly is how much insurance do you have? A lot of times people will come in and they'll have what's called a permanent policy, and they may have $50,000 or $100,000 or $150,000, but that is woefully short of the amount of coverage they could have. The amount of coverage you should have, in my opinion, is based upon the following formula. 5 times salary plus any debt you have, which would be home, car, line of credit on the home, credit cards, student loan, any type of debt, and $100,000 for every child not in college. Now, I'm not going to say that every kid, every young person rather, is going to go to college, but you'd like to have that money available if they want to. And the most efficient way to do this is through what I call term insurance. You buy it for a certain term, you have that bridge of insurance, like we like to say, and that by the time that term is done, you'll no longer need that insurance. Kids are out of school, debts are paid off, your retirement accounts are built up, and that's the most efficient way to insure yourself, in my opinion. The second thing, and you might, let me take a step back, you might remember a guy by the name of Dave Ramsey, incredibly intelligent man, great ministry in regards to financial planning. He says 10 times salary, and oftentimes when we compare this, it's the amounts are very, very similar. The way of mine is that I want to make sure that all the debt is covered and young people are covered. And so someone who's has 5 years to go and is making a very good salary, kids are out of school, no debt, in my opinion, 10 times that salary may be too much. So come in, we can review that. Now, the second thing I want to really encourage you, I've done it, today is January 16th, Thursday. This week, we've done this twice already, where we've previously had an appointment with our clients and requested what's called an in-force ledger. This is critical for people that have had what is called universal life or variable life insurance and haven't really researched it for the last 10, 15, 20 years. And these policies are based upon hypothetical projections of rates of returns when they're first sold. And if these policies are not meeting those hypothetical rates of returns, and oftentimes they're not, then those policies can lapse. And if you wait until the 2 or 3 years until that policy lapses, it often becomes so large of a premium that you have to add that it's not feasible to do it. Now, there's no cost to get these. And if you don't have the insurance through our office, we can take your insurance policy annual statement that you should get and write the agent/insurance company and ask for an enforced ledger with certain criteria so that you know whether or not that insurance is going to be there if you need it based upon actual expectations. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean that if an individual is, say, 65, statistically, they have, and especially if they're married, statistically there's about a 47% chance or so that one of the individuals in that marriage will live to be 95. And let's add this. Let's say that you're male and you're 62 and your dad's 92 and your mom's 91. Well, genetically, all things being equal, you got a pretty good chance to make it past 85. But what happens if on your illustration shows that the policy is going to terminate at 78? You need to understand, you need to have this knowledge. Ignorance may be bliss, but it's the cause for a lot of economic problems. So I want you to take the time to really understand your insurance. Here's the deal. I always tell folks, my clients, that I wasn't a particularly good student. And I probably don't want to hear that from your financial advisor, but hey, we're trying to be honest here. But I always appreciated the teachers and the professors that would take a very difficult topic, or even a difficult topic in some cases, and not try to show me how many polysyllabic words she or he knew, but would take a subject and boil it down so that I could understand it. And that's what I try to do with insurance. We have a number of resources that could help you understand your insurance. And if you have insurance, you should understand your insurance because people are counting on that insurance. So make an appointment or stop by with your insurance statement, hand it to Sharon, she's the one at the front desk. She'll make a copy. We'll get a paper for you to sign called an enforced policy ledger. You sign it, we send it off, it comes back, and it states under certain circumstances how these policies, or if these policies will maintain themselves. So that's the first one. The second is long-term care. Now, long-term care, I had a call today from a existing client wanting to know if they could get long-term care insurance. And unfortunately, her husband was already at a long-term care facility. So obviously that's not the case. It takes some pre-planning. In fact, the knowledge you should have about long-term care insurance is this. It's not the premium that buys it, it is your health. Now let's talk about some statistics, some just real basic statistics. This is from a Lincoln Financial Group website, and these costs are averages based in Indiana. And let's say you want to go to what's called assisted living. Now this is where you can do some functions, but also cannot do some functions of what's called ADL, activities of daily living, whether it's bathing, continence, dressing, eating, whatever. So right now, if you wanted a one-bedroom apartment, and the average around Indiana is about $4,000 a month. Now, where are you going to get that from? Are you going to self-insure? Do you have enough money that you can pay that? Or do you have a portfolio where you could move that monies around so that you're paying some long-term care insurance, or you've bought other type of long-term care coverage so that if that situation would arise, you'll be able to afford it, and or your spouse will be able to afford it. Now let's go 20 years in the future. $4,000 compounded at 5% a year, the monthly cost is $10,614 for a one-bedroom apartment. Now, it may be more or less. I'm just using averages. These costs are provided as kind of a service to you. They're not in stone, but they give you some knowledge about, hey, in 20 years from now, will I be able to afford that? Let's go to a different type of coverage called skilled nursing care. This is a more intensive nursing care. This is where you need much more assistance, kind of the proverbial traditional nursing home. A semi-private room today costs about $235 per day. Now that's an average Indiana semi-private room. Private room costs about $287. Now, let's move into the future. At 5%, a semi-private room costs $624 a day, or $18,720 a month. So, while there is some protection for the stay-at-home spouse, if we get into that, from Medicaid spend down, take the time to come in and research it. Have the knowledge. To not make a decision is to make the decision to stay status quo. You can't just put your head in the mail. Put your head in the sand. I guess you could put your head in the mail, but probably not a good idea either. But put your head in the sand and say, this isn't going to happen to me. I feel that I'm pretty well qualified to discuss this topic, as I had a father that was in skilled nursing care as well as assisted living for 4 years, and my mom was in skilled nursing care as well as assisted living for 10 years, actually a little more than 10 years. So I understand it from both sides of the table. It's a tough deal, but you need to have the knowledge of the real cost, not just the information, because if you have just the information, it doesn't really permeate, it really doesn't sink in. Very important. And maybe you are young enough that you want your parents to talk about this. Give us a call. We'll have the contact information at the end of the podcast. The third leg of a four-legged chair to show about insurance and preparation for those that you love is disability insurance. Now this is for younger individuals who are working. And disability insurance is the most underutilized, but when it's necessary, most important type of insurance. It's simply this, is that what happens if the paychecks stop coming? Who pays the mortgage? Who pays the utility bills? Who pays the college bills? And if you don't want to get private insurance through us, which is fine, what we want to do is make sure that your work provides either short-term disability and or long-term disability for you so that you're not consumed by bills upon a disability. I've taken out disability insurance because I'm self-employed since I began running this business over 30 years ago. I've paid premiums every year. For my own business, I have disability insurance and I have what's called BOE, branch office expense insurance, that would pay the salaries of my employees. And people say, well, guys, you've wasted all that money. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Because I know that's part of my responsibility to my family and my office people to make sure that upon any kind of disability that I might have, that they're taken care of. If you're unsure, you're welcome to come in. We value inquiries, and it may not generate commissions for us, and that's okay, because we want to show you that we value your commitment to us and are willing to provide you services that others who should be providing aren't providing. And finally, the last leg of the four-legged chair of showing somebody that you care about them is being prepared for an emergency. I would bet that when you go to the movies, you know where the exit is. In case of an emergency, they put it right up on the screen. I would bet for those of you who go to a hotel or motel that you know where the exits are in case of a fire. And we have a booklet, free of charge, that you can write down the location of your important paperwork, your contacts, your insurance agent, your doctor, and we can go over what you should have. Perhaps you need a living will, perhaps you need a power of attorney, perhaps you need a DNR, do not resuscitate order. Because you want to do this when you're not under an emotional anvil trying to make decisions, and or if you've been disabled, or if you've met your demise. You want to have something where someone can pick it up, know exactly where it's at. It might even be How about who have you told your usernames and passwords to so that if something would disable you or kill you, that they would be able to access your accounts with the least amount of hassle? Right now with the dissemination of nuclear families, it's not uncommon for mom and dad to be in Indiana and brother to be in Seattle, Washington, and sister to be in Lexington, North Carolina. Not unusual at all. And to think that they're going to come in here because dad just had a stroke and or is deceased and or their last parent passed away and be able to put things together without having it all in one spot is folly. So I encourage you to stop by and pick up this book. And it's a way of saying thank you for doing business with us. Because there's so many things we can help with in the financial planning process that you may not be using at this particular time. I've enjoyed talking to you today about these 4 topics: life insurance, long-term care insurance, disability insurance, and preparing for emergencies. I hope you take the time for those you love to make sure you understand each and every leg of this 4-legged chair of showing someone how much you love them in a rather different way. P.S. You can still buy the chocolates and flowers even if you do this. This is Dave Workman, and this podcast has been brought to you by Workman Associates. Visit workmanassociates.com for information about the investment services, insurance, and financial planning we offer.